Hello everyone, again it's Craig here with the Valustra Research Alliance. Thank you for tuning in to this third episode of the Getting Started series with Valustra. In the last episode we looked at a really simple network which represented the general pattern of flow that we see between the four team topology types. In this episode we're going to dive into an organization that's a little bit more realistic, one that's a little bit more complicated than the simple case. But before we do that, let's go back to that simple case again. I just want to show you, I've modified the team names now to actually have the names of the team types that they represent. You remember in the last episode we set them to Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4. So I've just changed their names here now because we have an enabling team, a platform team, a complicated subsystem team, and a streamline team. But you can see the relationship is still the same. The first team had its supporting network set so that it was supporting all the other teams. And then the next team was supporting what was left, and the third team was supporting the one remaining team. So it's the exact same pattern. And if we go to the topology diagram, you can now see the diagram with these team names set, these team types set. So we've got streamline team here, an enabling team here, complicated subsystem team, and a platform team. So what I wanted to show you is how we can set the interaction mode that each one of these team types should be using. And this is where we need to know a little bit more about how team topologies works. In team topologies, with these four team types, each team kind of interacts with the other teams in various ways. But they have a sort of predefined interaction mode that they typically use for their team type. So, for example, with platform teams, they generally interact in a way where they provide services to other teams. So they're using the as a service mode. That doesn't mean it's the only mode that they might use, but typically platform teams use as a service. Enabling teams, on the other hand, tend to use facilitation. They're all about helping other teams to do work without actually really getting involved in doing it themselves, but enabling those teams to be able to do the work for themselves and facilitating those teams to do that. So their interaction mode is one of facilitation. Complicated subsystem teams, on the other hand, tend to be more collaborative. What they're working on may or may not be complicated. In fact, don't let the name of the team type really fool you in that way. Doesn't necessarily mean what they're doing is complicated, although it could be. But what it really means is those teams are going to have a tendency to require a lot of collaboration in order to provide what they're doing to the other teams. So their interaction mode, their predominant interaction mode is collaboration. Again, they could use any of the other interaction modes if they wanted to, but predominantly that's the one they're going to choose. And then, of course, streamline teams, well, they're the teams that consume really everything from everybody else. So these other three team types are the supporting teams that are really helping the streamline teams to get work done. And streamline teams really want to try and be as autonomous as possible. So these three other team types are all about reducing the cognitive load for streamline teams, so they just get on with what they need to get done. But when they do interact with these other teams, then they're going to interact using those styles that these teams really adopt. So in Valustra, we can actually, in the organizational network, actually select the interaction mode that we think is appropriate for this team. Now, again, it doesn't necessarily need to be their predominant interaction mode, but generally it will be. So for enabled teams, we can select facilitation as the predominant mode. For the platform team, we can select as a service as their predominant mode. For the complicated subsystem team, we can set that to collaboration, and then we'll leave the streamline team set to none. Essentially, we're saying the streamline team doesn't have its own interaction mode. It's working in whichever way these other teams are kind of going to interact with it. So when we're looking at the topology insights diagram again, we can actually click on this interactions button here and actually you'll see what happens is it lights up with the little symbol that represents that interaction mode. So here the gray triangle means as a service. Again, this is part of the team topology nomenclature that they use in the diagrams. Complicated subsystem teams use this more sort of square type symbol, which is sort of like a pale purplish color, and then enabling teams to use this round symbol. But each one of these represents the interaction type. So this is collaboration, this is facilitation, and again, this is as a service. And you notice that the Stream Align team doesn't have a symbol set to it because it doesn't have its own interaction mode. So I just wanted to show that first of all, so you could kind of get a feel for how that works in Valustra. Again, doesn't mean that just because the team's enabling that it is only using facilitation. We could, if we wanted to say, actually for this team, we think it's probably better if it has a predominant style of as a service. But what Valustra will do will allow you to understand what that means in terms of flow when you change that interaction mode. And we'll see that in a moment when we start looking at a more complicated example. So I just wanted to show you that first of all. So let's get out of the project. You'll notice because I've made some changes, Valustra is going to say, "You've made some changes. Are you sure you want to leave and not save these?" And I can choose to say, "No, just stay here. I didn't mean to exit," or "Yes, just exit. I don't care about my changes." Or we can save and exit. But I'm going to say, "Yes, just exit right now." Get me back to the home page where I can see my projects. So let's start to take a look at a little bit more of a more complicated example. This is a fictitious organization that I've set up here called Bakers Unlimited Limited. Bakers Unlimited is a company that exists not in the real world. They sell baked goods, let's say, to the eastern United States. And so their business is really all about providing bread and cakes and yummy things that people might want to eat. But of course, they have an IT infrastructure behind the company, helping that to happen. And they've recently decided that they want to go online with their services, and so that's expanded their need to expand their IT infrastructure. And they're wondering about how they should do that, how they should create the organization. So let's take a look at what Bakers Unlimited kind of looks like. And we can see that they've got a number of teams that exist. They've got this DevOps engineering team that they've already set up. They've got a storefront development team. This is the team that's kind of helping with the point of sale systems, perhaps, that are in the stores where you can buy all these baked goods. They've got a bakery development team. Maybe this is a team that's involved in new products and new things coming out, and they're supporting the bakery development team in doing that. They've got a cybersecurity team. They see security and making sure everything's done safely as an important aspect of what they're doing. So they've decided to set up a cyber team. They've got finance support, of course. They're all about collecting money for the baked goods that they sell. So they need some way of understanding how the money's flowing through the business. So we've got an IT function that's helping finance. They've got a quality assurance team. So there's a QA team. Maybe this is a team of testers that are helping to test all of these IT projects that teams are working on and maybe writing tests for them or automating those tests for them. They've got a database team, a back-end database, of course, to store all this data the organization has. And they have an infrastructure team. They have a team, maybe this is being developed in the cloud. And so they have a team that's responsible for ensuring that the cloud accounts are being used in the right way and the right technologies are being selected. So they have an infrastructure team for that. And finally, they have a product catalog development team. So there's a catalog of products that the company wants to keep in terms of those baked goods, and they want to keep that up to date. And there's a whole team around kind of doing that. So we can see that there's quite a significant IT function that's existing in this organization, and we've already taken a stab at trying to establish how these teams are working together. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can see, for example, the DevOps engineering team. We've said, well, DevOps engineering is probably mostly helping the storefront development team, the bakery development team, the finance support team, and the product catalog dev team. So that's the team they work with. These are the teams that they work with the most. They're providing support, DevOps engineering support to those four teams. But you can also see that the bakery development team's actually working with the storefront development team, supporting them in actually taking some of these baked goods that they're developing and getting them into the stores and helping them with that. So you see all of these interactions that are happening throughout this. And so the way we would figure this out is, of course, we would talk to the teams about how they're working with each other. Who are you helping the most? Who are you working with? Who are you providing services to? Who are you providing help in any sort of shape or form to? And is that relationship a one-way relationship or a two-way relationship? But we want to understand what the predominant relationship is. And again, as I said earlier in the previous video, don't stress about that too much. Just work with those teams and try and understand how that relationship sort of feels and where that kind of is today, and have your best guess at how these teams are kind of supporting each other. But once we've done that, and once we've set up the organization in this way, we can go to the topology insights. And this is what the team topology looks like for that organization. Now, this is really important because at this point, nobody in the organization perhaps was even thinking about what the team topology was. They didn't even understand what the team types were or where they fitted in their organization. Perhaps they just treated all the teams the same. But what Valustra does is now shows you this pane of glass where you can really start to understand the types of team that you have in your organization. And you can see that in this organization, only the storefront development team has been identified as a stream-aligned team. Now, that might be a problem straight off the get-go, because if we want to increase flow in our organization, then we really should perhaps have more than just one kind of value stream that exists in our org. Maybe there's multiple value streams that we need to sort of be looking at. And to have one stream-aligned team in our org perhaps is something we can start to reason about and think about, and how do we make that better? But you also see there's quite a few complicated subsystem teams as well. That means there's going to be a lot of collaboration going on with these teams. We've got a reasonable number of enabling teams and platform teams, but maybe we should have more of those. And perhaps we start asking the question, why do we think cybersecurity is enabling? Why is infrastructure enabling? And more importantly, maybe, why is DevOps engineering a platform? Do they really provide things as a service, or should they be more enabling and facilitating? And also, why is quality assurance a platform? QA's writing tests, right? Why are they a platform in my organization? So Valustra really starts you kind of thinking about that and trying to understand that. In the next videos, we'll dive into this organization a little bit more, and we'll start understanding these interactions and how they're working. What we'll also do is we'll make sure that we've got the right interaction mode set for each of these things, because we haven't identified those right now. But of course, we know what team type they are, so we can, for example, for the storefront development, which is here it is right here. We can set this to it would be, let's set as none, because it's stream aligned, of course, right? We wouldn't want to change that. But if we looked at the quality assurance team, which is a platform team, QA team down here, we can say, okay, let's say they are doing things as a service, and we can set all that up. But we'll get into that next time. So just wanted to sort of give you a feel for how Valustra is helping you to start exploring these organizations, and how it's alerting you to things that you've got going on in your organization that you can start reasoning about and start thinking about to help improve flow and make things work through your organization much more seamlessly. So that's it for now. Please tune in to the next video where we'll keep diving into Baker's Unlimited. And until next time, we'll see you all again. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.